Hi, Kem. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Christian?
I'm good, thank you very much. I'd just like to say thank you for coming on to the podcast. I reached out to you because I seen one of your posts about the underwater welding on LinkedIn and thought that sounds extremely interesting. Something myself and hopefully the listeners would be interested in hearing. Um, so yeah, basically the first question I ask my guests is where you grew up and how you got into the industry.
Oh, I'm actually Turkish. I grew up in Turkey. I'm 48 years old. 1994 started with diving. Then I went to underwater technology program in Istanbul University. Joined the Navy. After the Navy, because at the university, all my instructor was a Navy diver. So you see them, I want to be one of them. I want to be one of them. And I became also a Navy diver, short period. And then let's say, um, then somehow 2002, I left Turkey, moved to Sweden, and I was sitting, I was living in Sweden for 7 years with totally different job. And then I search in internet. I was on sitting on my office. I was working also at the university in Sweden. This is too far from the sea, man. I need to get some, go back to my roots kind of thing. And then I find my school, which is I'm instructor with. Now I'm working with the Norwegian Subsea Training Center in Oslo, in Norway, since 2010 now. I was student there 2008. 2009 I came to UK, actually, I don't know, to Danune, PDA, Professional Diving Academy in Danune. And then I said, I'm going to be a welder because I didn't know anything about welding. And when I was at the university, the people, our instructors was talking, they are old now. They are not in this life anymore. Rest in peace. And they were writing on our books, in Norway, in England, UK, they are welding underwater. I said, "Ah, it's impossible." I was quite young, 22 years, maybe less, 20, 21, around there. How can it be possible to weld underwater? And it was, I remember, in UK, Norway, some of the other European countries welding. And I said, it's not possible. How they can do that? Anyway, so now I'm educating English and Norwegian guys as a
Sorry,
well.
what was your path into welding then? How did you learn to weld underwater?
Who? Actually, I have a mentor from England. His name
Um,
is David Keats. He's my mentor, and I've learned a lot from him. I met him many, many times for different courses because underwater welding is one thing, but teaching is something else. Because I'm sitting on the surface. I have a camera. As you have a headphone, and I'm talking to guys, and I explain them how to weld. It's not easy. It took for me around 5 years to learn that. Yeah, but for me, I was in, as I said, PDA and learning how to weld. When I was there, I realized that I'm really careful with my own students, and I'm trying to get to their own helmet. We are diving with the helmets, different professional helmets. I'm trying to, when I have my headphone, I'm trying to get into their camera system communication, like I'm talking to them, and then they have to move their hands, and then they have to adjust their travel speed and such a thing. So I started with it England, actually. David Keats helped me a lot shortly.
okay, and where was that in England that you learned then?
It's in Scotland. Can I say that?
Yes. Well, it's not in England, but it's in the UK, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, in Scotland, in Danune, there was, I think, professional diving academy. First, first time I had a course there, Weldcraft Pro underwater welding technology program. I joined it there for 2 weeks. It was the first step for underwater. I remember first time I just make it hot about, oh my God, what's going to happen? You know, you feel a little bit, current in your hand, but it's not the same way. It's just was a good feeling. Then I just more and more. But it's Scotland. I started in Scotland.
Sorry, did you learn to weld sort of standard as well? So did you learn to weld above water before welding
Yeah.
underwater? Yeah.
In um, it's for instance, Christian. This is not the positive thing to know very well on a surface welding, and then you go on to underwater welding. You have a very bad habits from the dry welding, and then for me, if someone is a dry welder coming to me learning underwater welding, I have to change his mentality first. It takes 1 to 2 days. It's a long time because he's a different mentality. Then I have to teach him underwater welding. But I was welding on dry, yes, before. My high school was about the metal construction education. I learned that, but I haven't used that since then. I started again in 2009 in PDA.
Okay, yeah, that's really interesting because most of the people that I've spoken to have started with apprenticeships or started learning to weld and then progressed to other things, whereas you kind of learned to dive or learned to dive in order and then you progressed into welding. So that's certainly different to anybody else I've spoken to.
Mm. We used to say that way, is it much easier to teach the welder to the dive, or this is a very typical question. I can do both, actually. I have a quite good confidence about that because I'm working with diving all the time. I'm a supervisor for class 1 courses at the NYD, and then I'm teaching. Today we were welding, for example, with my students, but it's just an introduction. But some of them is a TIG welder, and then they are saying that I'm a MIG welder. Okay, good. I'm not saying anything, it's just really good. And then because now the mostly TIG welding is the industry, not so much stick welding, electrode welding, normal, and then because at the school or the industry they are using TIG, and then electrode is different. It's not so easy actually to weld with the electrode, and I can see the dry welders coming and going first time on the water. I can see directly how they are doing things. The main thing with the underwater, we have a touch technique, Christian.
Okay.
Underwater a touch technique, but on surface you have a arc length. When you are welding, you have to have an arc length while you're welding. Otherwise, they say that, I don't know, I'm not a dry welder. In that case, I can teach underwater welding. The difference is arc length, actually. Of course, we have other differences, but
Okay, so the electrode itself is touching the plate that you're welding then.
all the time.
Okay.
You have to have a constant touch with the parent metal while you're welding. If you try to move 1 mil up, which is normal for dry welding,
Yeah.
it will stop.
Okay then, so if the electrode isn't touching the plate, the arc just extinguishes then immediately.
Yep. But
Okay, so as
depends. Some electrodes, you have to be really careful. You have to touch it very gently. I teach how to restart electrodes. That's the main thing actually. But when I see the dry welders there, I'm not saying, okay, go down and weld. We're welding at 10 meters depth. Uh, yeah, 10 meters depth. And then I can see how they are starting the electrode. And I was like, oh, so they are so harsh. I said, hey guys, take it easy. Be gentle. That is your ammunition. Use it. You know, touch technique. The start is the touch also. You don't have to do that big movements. And during the Weldcraft Pro course, we have 1 day dry welding also. Because Weldcraft Pro course, I'm making my advertisement here, but we are following European Welding Federation's syllabus, I think 571. And then we are using International Institute of Welding's also syllabus there. We have to teach the divers. And even on the dry welding, I'm teaching the guys, don't be so harsh with the electrode. You can see the difference with the dry welders. If you are 18 years old, because they're coming to me, and then you have no idea about welding, dry welding, wet welding. I got this guy because he just listened to you. He just does exactly what you're explaining to him. But dry welder, I take charge. I can do that. And then, oops, 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 oops. I used to call them popcorn. They're making a lot of popcorns.
Yeah, that does sound like something a welder would do well. Something like myself, you think you know better than everybody else some of the
It
times. But
happens very
so,
often.
so you would say then it would be easier to teach a diver to weld than what it would to teach a welder to dive and weld, would you say? Because you're starting afresh?
I have a statistic. I train around 300 divers every year. At NYD, we have 300 divers every year. And then those 300 divers go through me first in class 1, 2, 3 days welding, just introduction welding. And then I can see that someone is talented, get it directly. Because statistically, yes, what you are saying is correct.
Yeah.
That's my statistic. So that's why I said 300 divers is a lot of divers I'm training all the time. So it's better to someone never ever welded before.
Yeah.
Some of the
Okay then.
photos I send it to you. Unfortunately, I'm using my wife's. So I would love to show some of the wells between 18 years old guy, 30 years old guy, but you get some pictures, photos, films. If you have a possibility with your program, you can put them also.
Yeah, I had a look at them earlier. Very interesting. Um, so for myself and anybody watching or listening, can you explain to me a little bit about how the welding works underwater? Because obviously I wouldn't be 100% sure how everything works. And, obviously you said that you keep the electrode, but how does the TIG welding work? Can you explain to us a little bit about that?
TIG well, I don't know. We don't have a TIG well underwater,
Oh,
but the electrode, when you ignite it, the flux makes a the bubble there around the protecting that area. Nothing is wrong there. It's just burning there. But the thing is there, your welding machine is important. You cannot use the hobby welding machine. Your cable lengths are important. Your current range is important. It's everything. If you put in everything. When we are welding underwater, we have a knife switch. So I'm controlling the welds around, we call the arc voltage, around 25 to 30 volts. Amperage is quite high compared to surface because of the length of the cables.
yeah.
But when you ignite once, you how am I gonna say that? Tip of the rod makes a the place. Tip of the rod makes a place. There's a bubbling, protecting. That's allowed us to burn the electrodes. Actually, it's all about the electrode also there. So, but if I would have my notes, I would show you because it will be much easier for you. And
Yeah.
I have, unfortunately, not my YouTube channel, so I would love to show them how does it work. I will show you that so you will see the film. I'm gonna send you later.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll put your YouTube channel, I'll tag it in the video, and also
All right.
I'll
Mm-hmm.
put the company in the comments as well, so that if
Mm-hmm.
anybody is interested in having a look, then
Yeah.
they can jump
If
across it
you
and do that.
Yeah, Christian. If you want to be a diver welder, first of all, you have to be a diver, commercial diving.
Yeah.
You cannot come, because I'm getting those questions many times. I have a sport, if I don't want to give the name, maybe I can do that. PUDI. I have a PUDI advanced course. I have 100 dives. I've been diving in Malaysia or wherever. Okay, very good. But you have to know surface supply diving to able to attend that course. And that course is different in different countries. In our country, in Norway, it's 4 months, 16 weeks. After that, you can attend the welding course as your speciality. Because people say that, I heard that many times also, if you're an underwater welder, yeah, you earn a lot of money. Probably you were going to ask that question also. A lot of money. Underwater welding is the part of what we are doing actually. And this is not only we commercial divers doing underwater welding. That's my specialty. If you got a job, if it's specifically it's about the underwater welding, I have a certificate. I can go down and well execute the job. But I have to do concrete job also. I have to cutting job also. I have to maybe making drilling underwater or sucking or whatever. This is one of the small part of my job. About the payments, it depends, you know. But I have a lot of guys from UK comes and learns with me. There, I think I can see that they have a Rolex and then they have a really nice car. So probably they are good, earning really good money in England.
Yeah, so would there be massive demand for underwater welders then? Where would the main demand come from for underwater welding jobs or cutting or
At the moment, I know because many contacts in Germany and I think in the German side there's a big job is going on, and they're using thousands of tons, not thousands, thousands of electrodes for the well underwater. I see my divers are working there. Depends. You don't get the job all the time. You cannot just work as a I'm an underwater welder. I just work with underwater. No, it's not correct to say that. Some of the guys says that I want to be a welder, underwater welder. I want to get my certificate, and they're gonna put it on the wall. And this is something if you come to me and you know how to dive with those equipment, I want to try jam. Yeah, let's Christian, come, let's try. It would be very. Some people takes that course to just tell I am able to weld.
yeah.
Some guys taking courses because some companies asking to you that you have to have that certificate before you go down and weld. I have many, depends. Okay.
Yeah. A little question about the electrodes. What type of electrode would you use underwater mainly?
Carbon manganese. I'm not going to give any brand here.
Okay, yeah, obviously don't have to give any brands. So would that be a rutile electrode then?
Rutile electrode, carbon manganese electrodes we are using, rutile electrodes. And then we recommend always ultimate tensile strength would be around 7,000 psi. It's a 70-14 because as you know, 70-14 is a rutile electrode with the iron powder in it. So it works really good. We don't use 60-13 because tensile strength is less than 10,000 psi is less. So we rather to use 7-14. We are at the school using on my course. We are using specially designed for underwater welding 7-14 electrodes.
Okay, and with those electrodes then, can you weld in all positions underwater? Might seem
Yeah.
like a silly question, but you
No,
could
no,
do.
it's not a silly question. There is no silly question, only silly answers.
Well, I
Of
hope
course,
you won't
yeah,
give us any of them.
you can do that. Yeah, of course, it's an overhead. We call it a PG, PB, PD. positions, different positions, you can use those electrodes. Yes.
Yeah, obviously it's very interesting and it's something that I've never come across before. So would the majority of people coming to you to learn, would they be sponsored by a company or would they be, as you said, I just want to be an underwater welder? What are the main things that you see?
Both actually, Christian.
Yeah.
Some companies sending their own divers. Now I'm getting around 12 divers. We are still negotiating with that because that company gonna work in another country, and that country regulation says that your diver has to get this certificate to able to dive with me and do the job with me. This is one thing. Some of them is coming just to learn, so maybe they will have better opportunity to get a job. Because I saw any diver takes a course with me, they get the job very quick because they said, yeah, you spend your time with the welding. Yeah, okay. You went to course, you paid a lot of money. It's not correct. Yeah, and then they get the first priority.
Okay, if you don't mind me asking, if I say, for instance, say that I wanted to go down a individual route of becoming an underwater welder, how much would that cost just for the course alone? It must be quite expensive.
I don't think it's expensive. Of
Okay.
course, I would say that, but the thing is, to you cannot come to me and tell me that you want to be a diver welder. You have to show me first your dive medic,
Yeah.
your logbook, your certificate. This certificate and the surface supply certificate can be national or international certificate. Then you can attend the course. We are agree with that.
Yeah, so to even get to that stage, how many hours of diving would you have to have, or, how many months of training would you have to have just to be at that
4
stage?
months at NYD, 4 months,
Okay.
16 weeks. And then during the 6 weeks, our divers are making minimum 60 surface supply equipment dive. And then they have to do different bottoms. They have to do different bottom times. After they graduate from their diving training, they can attend directly to my welding course for 2 weeks. In Norway, at the moment, my welding course, I can check for you if I want to give in pound. This is
Yep.
okay. My students are writing. I can show you. They are in the diving job, and then they're writing all the time to me. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Let's see, pound, right?
Yep.
Do you say pound or sterling?
Yeah. Pounds is fine.
No, pound is not. We are taking at the moment, because I'm gonna adjust the 2 weeks course is 3,637 pounds.
Okay, that's not actually as expensive as what I thought.
No, but in my school is accommodations included also to this price. But from November, my August course is fully booked now. My November course will be 4,100 pounds, because we know the situation in the world, so we have to also go. But it's not so big changes, just follow the market.
Yeah,
This is our
okay.
prices for 2 weeks. 2 days, if I explain this part, Christian. 2 days is theory. This is mandatory. You have to go through 2 days theory. We have around 8 different learning outcomes, learning outcomes. And then we have 1 day dry welding. The course is totally 2 weeks, 11 days. Sometimes depends how many divers I have. I'm making 12 days. But around 7 to 8 days every day diving, and the bottom time is around 600 minutes. It's about 10 hours. After 10 hours, because I'm sitting with the divers all the time, a lot of electrodes, a lot of plates, makes a lot of mistakes. 10 hours training, and then I send you some pictures. You saw that. So
Yep.
you some of them is a macros. I send you some
Yes,
macros.
I did see those.
They made in underwater, for instance, underwater welding
Okay.
macros. Then yeah, what I was saying.
Yeah, so with regards to the training, is that all at the 10 foot underwater then, or do you go any deeper for training?
No, it's a 10-meter step.
Sorry,
We are
10 meters.
we are doing 10-meter step, but with some regulations, I can make until 20 meters with my with that certificate. You don't have that deep welding actually. If you go deeper, you have to do, because of we have a limited bottom time, we have to do habitats. The diver goes into the habitat and weld in the habitat.
Yeah, so what is the deepest that you can weld, or the deepest that you know you can weld, obviously with the habitat then?
Habitat thing is habitat is can be 120 meters.
Wow.
Uh,
Okay.
but it's a habitat is not the habitat is much bigger than my son's room. It's a huge, because of the thickness of the pipes. I don't know how many. This it's a
Yeah.
lot. Some of them is a 300 millimeter thickness on those pipes. It's a lot of runs going around, and it's not with the hand. It's actually with the tick. The
Okay,
different
like
machines are making those wells. The diver
yeah.
is just there controlling the machine is welding on that depth. This is the
Yeah.
very basically, Christian. The things that I'm explaining is actually not that simple. I'm trying to make the people understand. It's not so simple. I'm trying to make it simple.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, it's quite difficult to understand because obviously most people who are probably listening and watching this are the same as me. We've only ever welded above shore.
Hmm.
Um, water kind of wouldn't be a good thing when you're welding because you think, oh, I'm going to get an electric shock, or you
Don't.
know,
We are
because I've
using direct current. I can tell you,
yeah,
direct current.
I've
So
I've been welding on a repair under the furnace once, and I was wet, and you get a little electric shock and kind of shoots through a bit, but that's my
been
closest
welding
I've come.
underwater since 2009 and never get shocked.
Okay, so you're doing one
Never
better
get
than
one.
me then.
I never get one. I was welding under the rain. I never get shocked. So it depends what kind of equipment, what polarity you are using. Because underwater we are using negative polarity on the torch.
Okay.
So this is the reason we call a heat ratio. You know. So we are trying to get the negative in our hands for the two reasons. I can give more reasons, but to able to get a deeper penetration. I see some of the YouTube films and then one of the instructor in the United States. I hope he's listening to me. He knows me also. And during the film, he said, "We are using positive in our hand." And no, you don't use positive underwater. Otherwise, you don't get a penetration. The other one, you get penetration. Don't misunderstand, but we are talking about deeper penetration, because if you get the negative in your hand, electrodes will burn much slower. If you burn slower, you have time to go into the joint. Do you understand what I mean? If you have a positive, electrodes will burn faster. But if you are holding a positive in your hand on the water, that means that you are holding a cathode in your hand. So sorry, I'm sorry. You're holding an anode in your hand. That means that you're producing more electrolysis. You're gonna feel that actually
Yeah.
electrolysis on the water. Quite good. Electrolysis can be little small hydrogen bubbles. Looks like that.
Um, With regards to cordings, then, do you do cordings underwater, same as, we would do cordings for a job above shore? So you do a test for, I don't know, a plate test or a pipe test, and then that would cover you to weld underwater. Is it the same thing?
Is it the same thing? You're talking about the WPS?
Yeah, so say now, obviously you get your underwater certificate, which says you can weld underwater, but then do you have to have specific cordings for specific jobs as well?
Mm. The thing is, Christian, how am I gonna say that now? WPS, just starting from that, WPS, as we know, that is a welding procedure specification. You're giving a paper to diver, I want you to do this weld. Down it goes, and the vertical down PG position in 3F, using single pass or the multi-pass on it, then comes to surface, and then if you have the inspectors there, they are breaking tests. I don't know if they are macro there, but they are always checking with the fracture test. Okay, you have a penetration or not. Okay.
Yeah.
You have a certificate, one for one position. Let's say we're talking about the PG. You're going down, you're making PG. That's for that your certificate is valid for PG. If you pass that test, that's a test. If your fracture is approved by inspector, that weld, the welder is approved to do that weld next time. Simply.
Okay.
Is it the same in the dry welding? I don't really know very well on the dry welding.
Yeah, so you would do a cording, as you said, you do a test, it'd go away for testing, and then that would be valid for 6 months or however long. But if you are welding to that standard, then they can be extended up to 2 years, would be
Yeah,
most
it's
places. Yeah.
actually what I'm giving a certificate. We are issuing a certificate, the ISO standards we are doing.
Yep.
We call it, if I can give the name here, BSEN ISO 15618. I'm
Okay.
testing my divers with that standard. If they are passing that standards, they are getting a certificate. Normally, that certificate is valid, as you said, 2 years. But if you are if you go into any job in Europe, let's say in Germany, you're going to do that. They are looking at your certificate. Yes, you have a certificate. Go down and do the test. And then maybe because it's different environment, they want to see if diver has a certificate, is able to weld again. He's welding, giving to surface, breaking. Okay, another certificate you get. As you said, maybe extending that.
Yeah, so that's quite similar. Any place you go, if you go on a new job or to a new company, you'd have to test again anyway. Yeah, that's okay. So with regards to inspection, then that when the welder comes up and the test piece is brought up, you have inspectors on shore then, or sort of on the
Yeah,
board who inspect everything.
yeah. They have to follow everything, and then he is actually checking is if the diver is following that WPS. He's
Yeah.
doing everything as he said, and then he's doing the test. If it passed, he's putting his stamp there, and it's valid.
Okay.
This is very
Interesting.
simple what I'm saying. So
Yeah, no, it's good. Can you tell me a little bit more about your company now then, the Norwegian Subsea Training Center?
mhm. Norwegian Subsea Training is uh, world-leading commercial diving school. I'm gonna use my boss word there is Dag Wroldsen. Before we had a Fort William in England. It was a commercial diving school, and now unfortunately they went to bankrupt a couple of years ago. And now we are saying, who are we going to compete with? We cannot compete with Fort William, with England, because they closed it. So we are a world-leading diving company. We have 300 divers. We have 11 different stations. We have dynamic position dive sport vessel at the school, dynamic position. So our platform is in the one position only with that machine we have. We have a wet bells, we have closed bells. We are running saturation diving. If you know the saturation diving,
No, I
very
don't.
deep sea diving.
Okay.
And we have divers is working in North Sea in the English side. We call the English side. We have divers in Norwegian side, North Sea mainly. So we are training 300 divers. We have special courses. We have concrete rehabilitation course. We have underwater welding course. We have rescue diving course. We have different small courses, dive supervisor courses. We have students all over the world, not only from Norway. I got many different cultures in our schools. I love it. I meet a lot of interesting people. So yeah, we have 11 different station. Every station has own task, different depths. Yeah, something else. We have around 15 people working on that company. We have different instructors. Instructors mainly, I think 80% from NYD, the old students like me. But we have been outside and worked a little bit, then came back to NYD and developed. We worked together at NYD. I'm one of the oldest instructor there. Been working there for, as I said, 13 years now. So NYD is a good. If you are interested with the diving, scuba diving, come and see us in Norway. What we are doing, but we have to have a, I think, visa. Because
Yeah, no, yeah, sounds incredible. Okay, Kem, so what's next for you? What do you see as being your future moving forward?
I want to retire.
You're not
No,
that old yet.
no. 48 is still young. Even I have very gray hair, but it's not easy sometimes to work with divers. So, uh, 48. I like to develop some equipment, to make easier for underwater welders. I have some projects working on it, more uh, more comfortable equipment for the divers for underwater welding. I actually, Christian, I'm gonna say, as a person, I make the plans for 5 years.
Okay,
So some of the plans I make it 5 years now, 5 years later. So I'm 50. I have to decide something else.
okay,
My until 50, I was planning to get a minimum 35, 40 divers as a welder every year, and then I reached that last year. 35 divers last year I trained. The sorry, last year 27. The year before was 35. This year I start with the 6 divers in March. In August I have another course, another course, another course. So to plan, just weld, weld.
mm,
I don't have so much. I can't think so much now. When I get to 50, I have to. All right, I have to do something. This I have to develop that, because at NYD we always develop something. If you stay at the same place and do the same things, you get bored.
yeah.
So
It's
we have
good to
to.
have a plan and it's good to have
Yeah,
something to aim for, isn't it?
yeah. Because I see that there's no oxy or cutting courses at the moment in Europe, and the cutting is the one of the uh, risky job. And I would like to maybe make a really good course on about that, so I can develop it. Maybe when I'm 50, I can work more on it, so I can
Okay.
develop so nobody injure.
Okay, Kem. Another question I've been asking my guests. Is there a funny story you can tell me around welding or around the industry?
Who? It's not funny, but I can tell to all my. It was not funny at all. It's almost close to the death. No, it's
Hey.
not fun. But we are training divers all the time, and we have many different countries. And I one day we have a contingency diver, actually standby diver. The diver was together with his standby. It's like we are diving 2-2, right? So the diver was in 40 meters. Somehow my colleague called me because we have different stations, close to each other. My station has a standby diver. And then my colleague said, Jem, you have to come. Something is not correct with the diver. I went to directly the screen and I look at that. The diver doesn't look really good from the other camera because they are looking each other. The diver's holding the other guy. It was like, it's like a tremor. It's not funny story, but it can be scary for some
Yeah,
people.
definitely sounds
But
scary.
for us, is we have to be ready. But I'm gonna explain. So the diver didn't breathe around 9 minutes underwater.
Oh, what?
When he come to the surface, uh, I took off his mask, and then I saw that he was not there anymore.
Okay.
And then I start to make a CPR, those kind of things. I don't know how long we were working on him. I don't go to details, otherwise.
Yeah.
And then the air ambulance came, and they start to, help him, but he was gone. He's gone. But I was ventilating him all the time. Then the ambulance took him to hospital and many different things. And then I was in really shock. You get sad.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened. It was nothing wrong with it. It was something wrong with his health. 2 hours later, they called us. Who ventilated that guy? He's alive.
Oh, wow.
He didn't breathe 9 minutes. He came to surface. I've been working with him. I don't know, 20, 25 minutes, maybe half an hour. You don't know. The time is gone. And then what I'm trying to say, training is really important. I've been training Navy, university, at NYD every time. We are training a lot of emergency procedures all the time. But it works. When it's happened, it works. So training is important. Same with the diver training, welder training. It's very important. That first, how do you say first in English? How is that? First help? First aid? First
First
aid.
aid, yeah, that's
First
correct.
aid. That training I've been taking many times. You have a like, but you don't take, make the course done. You're done. We took it very serious after that. It was a long time ago. It happened this with my colleague wasn't there. Now he's a chief instructor. He developed much better contingency plans for that. If happens something, we were ready there, but it can be worse. So we are always ready. What I'm trying to say, everyone, the training is very important. You never ever know where you're going to use that training. Same with the welding. You train yourself, become a very good welder. You do your best. You never know where you're going to use that one. I'm a very good example on that because I want to be a little bit humble, but it stops me some of the, here you go. In Norway, we didn't have so much welding before. The people, even my boss is around 65, I think. He says that they thought they were welding before. When I came from England, I told him, "Do you have a welding at NYD?" He said, "Nah, welding, underwater welding, it's not so interested, With me, everything started. I developed the welding at NYD. Last 13 years, in Norway, everyone talks about welding, underwater welding. They are more aware about the quality, and then how do you say that, safety. So I'm happy because I took that course in PDA, and I used that education, that training somehow, somewhere else. And then I'm helping many guys because what I've learned, I'm teaching to other people. They go and then earn money for that, get a job and get in good places. Like that guy with the Rolex. I don't have a Rolex.
Yeah, well, neither do I. It's fine.
Another question, Christian?
Um, I think we're almost done. You know, is there any advice you would give anyone who is looking to come into the underwater welding industry?
Hmm. They can contact me. I'm gonna talk to them very honestly because I'm not trying to sell any course. It's not about the selling course. We have many students, but I can explain them uh, regulations. How does it work? Teaching is my job. I will teach them. And but if they have any further, which we forget now to ask, maybe you forget, or maybe I didn't explain some of the things. They can contact me or they can contact you. You have my telephone number also directly, and then I can help them even for diving education. You know, it's some people loves diving, but or water, to work with water, but they don't know how to start. NYD can be a start. Then they want to be. Wow, I want to be underwater welder. Come to the jam. I teach you.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll put your contact, I'll put your LinkedIn and the YouTube
Uh,
page into the comments. But you know, thank you very much for taking the
you're
time to speak to
welcome,
me
Christian.
today. It's been very interesting, very informative. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome, Christian. I'm sorry I didn't have time before. I was very
Yeah, that's
busy,
okay.
but it was
Everybody
really nice
needs,
to talk to you and
yeah,
everyone. Have a great evening, everyone.
yeah. You too. Have a great evening. Thank you, Cam.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank